want more consistency in my business, so I guess that's where it, right. But how can I, and I'm trying to work on making sure that it's there.
That's fair. So what are you doing to make sure that it's there? Like what are your?
I'm setting appointments up ahead of time. Like I already know I have 2 listings coming up next. We've already talked about get to that point. I've given them, things to do to be able to get the, best return. Me checking in, giving them vendors, doing this kind of stuff, setting them up on searches ahead of time so they can see where the market is. Similar homes. So just trying to add the value now so that I know when we get to that point, like, 45 days out. So when we dial it in from there, they sort of know what's going on and I'll make a conversation. And then really with buyers, like just identifying who is a buyer. We pick up. Like, Marta's doing one today and she's going.
Where's she doing that one at?
Crow's listing in downtown Brighton, a little 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 800 square foot, but right in town around the corner from us. So it's perfect. It's where we want to work.
Yep.
We already have a little footprint.
Oh, that's an evening one.
Yeah, we're gonna do a 5 to 7.
How many signs are you gonna put out?
I think we'll end up with 8 total. All traffic has to go down Main Street right now because of the Chalice Road. So we'll try to funnel them in all the way from 3rd and Main Street to 7th and Main Street. And then the visibility, they'll see the 2 signs there and then try to corral people in off of that.
Should be a good one.
Downtown.
It should bring a lot of traffic, which is.
Yes, I think we're gonna have like investor potential there, and then I'm gonna take zoning stuff. We'll talk about zoning because I know the zoning down there, so if people wanted to add on to it, because this is the right point to come in at. But then here's your, your setback. So just knowing the product, and really coming in, like, because when you do have investors and you show that side of it, it adds a ton of value, and they're like, okay, they really know what they're doing. They're not just trying to sell this house, they actually know the market and municipality and some restrictions, blah, blah, blah. So it's easier to show you that just rather than showing your values.
Love that. Mrs. Shoup, how are you?
Spinning, but I was just talking to Bill a little bit. It's been a wild month. We're on vacation and got caught in flight craziness, and we had to scrap half of our vacation and pivot. So instead of Denver, we went to Minneapolis. And,
I didn't know that you got caught up in that.
Yeah, we flew into Bismarck, then went down to South Dakota, did all the Mount Rushmore and all that stuff, and then we were supposed to fly down to Denver, and then go up to Wyoming. And that didn't happen, so it's all good. We did a lot in South Dakota, so that's good. Saw all of Rapid City.
Oh, wow.
There's not anything else to see. No. Well, and the bigger problem too is because it's so small, we're like, oh, we'll just drive to Denver. It's only 6 hours, not a big deal. But because the inventory of rental cars is so small there, they wouldn't allow us to do a one-way rental. We were fine in town, but spent my birthday at the Mall of America, and all was good there. So
What happened with
so
Microsoft went down or something?
Yeah.
Caused all the flights to go down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news, so I saw like some of it, but it's only for social media.
Sean was stranded in Atlanta for 27 hours.
Yeah, she told me that. Yep, the other day. That's crazy. So, how's your business?
Yeah, it has me spinning too. I had 2 listings go the weekend right before we left. One had a bad inspection, but the house is fine. The inspector was terrible. They tried to unseal a sealed sewer cap and ruined the cap on there. They were playing with the sump pump, and apparently it started spraying water, and they left a big puddle in the utility room. The agent then called me after all of that and said, I've never had this happen before, but I lost the keys to the house. I'm like, I'm in South Dakota, I can't do anything. So my sellers are very anxious and have lost all trust in the system, and I'm trying to regain all of that back, and it's hard. But I'm trying to, explain that this doesn't happen often. You're just a lucky some. Then I had a buyer get under contract, and they did an inspection. The inspection for the house was bad. There was a toilet that's been leaking for years, so the subfloor is completely rotted out. The joists are gone, but she still wants to see it through. Okay. We'll see how that goes. But then she bought a car, and that changed her debt to income too.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know. It's been wild. And I'm kind of stressing like Scott a little bit about future business. I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of unexpected business, which is great. And I'm trying to manage that, but I haven't done any prospecting for the future. And that's giving me a little bit of anxiety too.
So what's your plan?
I don't have one yet. I don't have a solid plan yet, being very honest.
How did you generate business in the past?
Following up with database, a lot of social media posting. They've been really bad about that too. That's been my bread and butter, social media. Open houses, I haven't been very fortunate in converting anybody with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on me, nothing else. So yeah, that's my top three things. Just
All right. I was looking for something that I wrote down the last couple of days in Ohio, but it has to do with, be ready when you wake up Monday morning with a plan, right? A plan of what you're going to do so that your pipeline doesn't dry up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that you can find that business. I'll find it.
Okay.
Judy, how's your business right now?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. Got a couple unexpected buyers out of the blue. One being my husband's boss, who drove me all over southeast Michigan. I think I showed 50 homes in a week.
Oh my
gosh. It was that good. And I got to the point where I was like, really, this schedule doesn't make sense. Let me reconfigure it. And he goes, no, this is the priority of the homes I want to see. I want to see them in this order, so I'm driving.
Oh my goodness.
I can only say so much.
Right.
Anyway, he's finally under contract. We finally got inspections squared away last night. Mold in the attic. And then my other one, just kind of old friend from Cub Scouts. That tells you how long I've known these people. His mom was moving back to the area. I showed her a couple of condos. She wanted one. That's one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then it's just trying to get my people on the fence. So they start looking again, and they're all, when they find what they're looking for, they'll sell their big homes. And
Yeah, it'll all happen in the same month. Don't worry.
Yes.
Karen, how's your business?
It's okay. I'm working with a buyer right now. I feel like he's getting closer to finding something. He doesn't have to sell his house first, but he should sell his house first, and he knows that. So he said it just started picking up. I don't have the listing side. It's a divorce, so I'm just working on the buy side. And he said they're having a second showing this weekend. Someone coming back, so that's good because it was definitely July was definitely like slow with having people come to his house. He said it just started picking up again.
Mm.
Yeah, they were way overpriced. They dropped to $75,000. So they just pointed out it the wrong way. So and they're offering 2% buyer's agency. So
Oh gosh, double whammy.
yeah. So Yeah, so he thinks every house is overpriced that we go see, which is a shame, like from the buy side. So it's like I've been having to show him a lot of comps, like every time. He's like, no, it's worth this. And I'm like, no.
And are they going under contract, like, after you look at them with somebody else?
Oh, yeah.
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 That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, exactly. So, but anyway, so I think he's getting closer though. He's getting more anxious to buy and knows it's gonna be quick as soon as he goes under contract. So I think that's gonna be sooner rather than later. So then I'm doing an open house also for Kirsten and for her listing in South Lyon tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get some business out of that.
I'm seeing a lot of 2%. 2.5%.
Where are you seeing it?
Well,
When she went all over the.
When I was all
Oh.
all her 50
I'm like, tell me where we're finding this.
As you get closer to the more populated areas, I feel like.
The more
there's
competitive.
Yeah, and just shady little brokerages that don't really care about the price side of things.
The last two I showed were 2.7, 2.7, just 2.7. Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
Hell, and I think that goes to show that agent tried. Probably.
Yeah,
Right?
probably.
All right, Bill, well, you said that you had a great week of prospecting.
Yeah, I think, my one painful, I have two painful listings out there that are trying to get sold. One of them, you know, deferred maintenance, on a house, when you go in and look at it, and see whether you're a buyer agent or a listing agent, and you see the deferred maintenance, it's gonna have an impact on the outcome. This house had 54 showings, I think. Finally got an offer. Seller is seeing, just thinks her house is worth $1 million. And it looks like we're gonna settle out maybe at 600. Just, you know, to redo the outside is $180,000. Changing out logs.
I mean, I saw that house. Yeah.
And so, moving the needle, I call it moving the needle. The needle moving happens on both sides of the deal. When you're negotiating, you know, we try to move the needle to get an agreement. When we have a house that's for sale out there and the seller is just adamant it's worth this much money, that's how much I need, you know, time on task is like, okay, you know, and nurse it along until the point where I'm so sick of this,
Yeah.
I want to get rid of it. And you have to be very patient, and you have to also fend off the insults of realtors don't know what they're doing. They're, you know, all of this stuff. Just let it slide by. Don't try to defend it. You just have to be patient. That's been my mantra this year is, okay, how can we move the needle to make this work? And a piece of land that has some challenge. The most unusual thing I've ever had happen. The land is 4 acres and it's kind of it was wetland, but it was through DEQ, and now it was
Developable.
developed. So it's a difficult piece. And the son bought the house that the parents had. And he wanted to buy that piece of land too. So the original mortgage app had, well, they were had two different parcel numbers, and they're not going to allow that mortgage. So somewhere along the way, the double description got recorded with the mortgage. So when our CISLO family says, you know, there's more property, and they discovered that it was covered by a mortgage on another property.
Hmm.
So getting that undone is an unbelievable nightmare.
I can't even imagine.
So we have a good offer on it and can't close until we get that.
David?
Good. I mean, really, in all honesty, I had an open house last week. Didn't pick up any new buyers, but it was a good conversation with a couple of the neighbors. That was an open house I did for Chad and Elena. Doing an open house tonight for their Celine listing, which I actually showed yesterday. They got a sign call from someone interested in looking at the home. Given everything, especially with the team, Chad and Elena do not like doing dual agency. So they were like, here, Dave. And I'm like, yep, thank you very much. So it's really kind of working out. He's kind of a weird duck. But while I pulled up waiting for this buyer to show up, another couple drove by and asked if the home was for sale. They do not have an agent. So I'm like, and the home's a go and show. So I was like, if you can give me like a half hour to stick around the neighborhood, I'll lock it down and show it to you. So did back to back, showings there. They're bringing back their daughter and son-in-law, who's actually the home is going to be for tonight at the open house that I'm doing. So rock and roll on that side of it. I've got a closing today at 11:30. So yeah, no, it's steadily rolling.
All right.
I've got, handful, I've got the future stuff, like Scott was saying, I've got some of the future stuff going. I'm looking for more of the 90-day people right now, so.
Yep.
But that's where my focus is, because I've got an okay pipeline, longer term out, so I want the 90 days.
So what activities are you gonna do to look for the 90-day stuff?
It's really just, I was doing it this morning again, going through Remind and searching neighborhoods and seeing who are listed as medium to high sales scores, own their home for the last 5-10 years, 15 years even. And then it's that check mailer and phone calling. I've been really consistent. One of the things I set for this year was that every morning, Monday through Friday, aside from this mastermind and a couple other things, 9 to noon is do not bug me. I am 3-hour lead genning the entire time. And it's mailers, it's phone calls. I don't even do follow-ups with my clients at that point. It's digging.
Yeah, good.
And do not bother me. And like with my kids being home for the summer, they know hardcore. Nope, dad's not here.
Yeah.
His car's in the driveway, but he's not here.
I mean, that's a good productive work day right there.
So I
9
have
to,
to leave it there in order to keep the train rolling.
yeah.
So on that going out, I picked up a future seller at Rock the Block on Wednesday. That's the whole reason why I do these things. Other than they're just a really fun event, but
Yeah.
Get out there and talk to people. So she's going to be selling next spring when her last child graduates high
Did
school.
she stop by the tent?
No, she was actually standing nearby, and so I was just near, and I was actually covering out for one of our other volunteers because I was gatekeeper.
Yeah.
We got to chatting,
Cool.
so.
That's where, like, I've had 2 of those, the 2 appointments the past couple of weeks, and both of them were future, I'm going to sell. I set the appointment now, because I wanted that,
Yeah, I set it up, I sent her an email, and I called her just the other day too, just to like resubmit everything from Wednesday, so.
yeah, so that's why I wanted to have that essentially a pre-listing appointment, before the actual listing appointment, just to give them stuff, like, I always like to bring gift and then something tangible, so I've been doing binders lately with stuff, with like, here's some, whether you put your vendors in there, or just give them something, so physically I have something in their home, like, so like, whether it's in the drawer or something, when they open it, and just, making sure I value if they need anything.
I had a seller call me 5 years after my first list appointment
Because you left something.
because I left a binder with them.
Yeah, I feel like a binder is,
Binder's the key.
because you won't throw it away.
I know.
Right? Like,
No, I
there's other things you can get, you can throw it away.
Folders, they throw away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I feel like it just doesn't get thrown away for some reason. So like, I love that. Like, we're working on getting it fine tuned, because we actually want to do books through Shutterfly or something
They
similar.
throw those away too.
Yeah. It's like throwing a magazine away, like that's nothing.
Binders.
Throwing a binder away is a little bit
All
harder.
right, we'll
I've
stick with
had-
the binder.
I've had
Fine.
sellers give me the binder back, because they're moving out of state or whatever. They're like, here, you probably want this binder back. I'm like, well, you keep it. And they're like, no, you want the binder. The binder's your secret.
It's weird though, isn't it?
Binders.
But I love those. It's like, for some reason, it just seems to work, like when it rings. Yeah, you know, and so.
So one of the strategies yesterday that came up that, you know, we talk about every year, but sometimes we talk about it a little later in the year. But Ryan Young was talking about how he goes into the new year every year with about 40 to 50 signed seller listings going into the new year. But the way that he does that is by coming up towards the end of summer, going through the pipeline of all the potential sellers, people thinking about selling, maybe when they find a house or maybe into next year, as going and getting signed contracts and getting green grass photos. Just, you know, you go in and commit to getting the photos, they commit to the listing. We'll put the date when the listing starts later. But that's a good thing to start talking to people about right now that are waiting to sell.
What was the necklace for? I thought that,
She just bumped her head.
oh, I
Give
was thinking
myself
that,
concussion.
that's pretty sharp.
Sitting here.
Green grass photos, that looks good in the wintertime. You wanna see green,
You want to see what it looks like? Yeah,
and it's somewhat of a commitment.
yeah.
It just can't be too far out because Dana Nessel just signed a new rule away.
What did she say? I don't like her.
She was acting governor this week. So she signed a new protection that for real estate, anything 2 years or more is automatic void.
Oh, that's fine.
So it's just a matter of timing, right? So it's
Yeah.
just, there's new rule, like she doubled down on stuff because of some
That's
other
probably 'cause
company
of
that was doing
The
that. weird,
predatory lending for the next 40
locking
years
out.
are committed to us, keep it, blah, 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 that.
Right, right.
So there was like a handful, like all parties have to be involved, nothing more than 2 years, and there was something else, and I mean, big deal, I'm like, why are you signing anything? We didn't elect you.
Yeah, right. It just
I don't
helps.
care what party you're part of, but we didn't elect you, so it's not signing.
But it's nice for those, you know, for those later month and early next year potential sellers.
I like that idea.
Well, it opens the door to further conversations.
Yeah,
you
gets
know?
you in. You start committing to them, they commit to you. You got those future business. Yes,
Yeah, let's go back on the binder for a little bit, just a couple of ideas from people, what, you know, what would be really good in that, you know?
So my perspective, what we do is when I show up, like if I'm doing it for a pre-listing or even a listing, I show up, I have our listing presentation in there and we go through that. I'm also going to have a copy of the listing agreement in there, whether they're ready to sign it or not. I want them to be able to review it. Even if we do, you know, use DocuSign a little bit later point in time, I'm gonna have seller's disclosures, mortgage release, HOA worksheet. And then I'm also going to have vendors that they've told me that they've needed. I'm gonna have their contacts on a piece of paper, on one of the pages. In the future, when, no, that's listing side. What else do I?
So
typically-
I have all that,
Mhm.
plus I have, I'll do like a mini CMA, you know.
Oh, yeah, I do put a CMA
Put
in
a
there.
CMA in there, and I'll put a home warranty brochure in there, and a Levy's paint brochure in there. I'll do brochures for like chimney sweeps and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Pretty much anything that you think could get them to open it up because they're looking for that, I'm gonna try to put it in there. I want that to be a resource for them, so they keep touching it. You know, the more they touch it, the more secure I feel in their, you know, be able to get the
Moving
business.
company stuff, same,
How about reviews? How about reviews?
that's part of my listing presentation.
No,
I have a whole page of reviews.
From the lending side, you know, anybody who's had a closing with me know I have the blue Bible that I give at a closing. and I put the appraisal, the title work, HOA, tax bills and all that stuff. And like Judy, 20 years later, I got it coming back and bringing that blue Bible, because every time they have a new contract, a new appliance, they're putting it into the Bible, right? And so they're thinking of my name, and I have people bring that the next time they're getting pre-approved, and I say, no, that's okay, that's for your current house, the house you're buying is free, it's the Bible that costs you $400,000, and
When we do
but
the,
that's all with my business card, so they can pass them out to friends and family too.
when we do the buy side, we do something similar to that, and then we'll also include it in the back. The rooms, what kind of flooring they have, what kind of paint they have on the walls, where they can just document stuff, like you said, with it. Yeah, home inspection report, appliances, when they were bought, who installed it, who's the contact for all that stuff.
For my buyers, I put that all on a flash drive.
Okay. Yeah, still like the binder.
We instruct,
I'm confused with your buyer binder. When did they get that?
That's what I was saying. So it's just gonna have something similar to the stuff that he has in there. Like they get it when I do the presentation for the binders. If I actually do the formal presentation, they're gonna get it at that point in time. And then I may just give them the stuff to put in at the end, but that's all gonna, it's not gonna be assumptive close, and that might be items additional.
one of the things that we do is we put a copy of the CD, and I actually highlight the tax deductions and all that, and they'll put their tax bills in there, and I say, what you do, because they're gonna ask you, when you do your taxes, have you bought or sold in real estate the previous year? You give this blue Bible to your accountant, right? Because all the documents that are in the purchase. I've got calls from accountants saying, wow, that's very organized, and I actually get referrals from accountants because they're well organized. Do you guys put a copy of the closing disclosure in there too? Because you could and say, give this to your accountant.
Right.
That can open up that door to talk to
Then they're
accountants.
gonna touch it again.
I don't usually have access to
We can get it, yes, for it.
We still on binders?
that. Binders are good. They're a good thing.
I've always brought binders and left them with my whole listing presentation and market analysis.
If I'm gonna be on the sell side and the buy side for their next house, I'll put my buyer presentation on there too.
Yeah. Well, see, like mine was always like a guide through the transaction, right? What to expect next. It was a reference guide for them, so they could, if they had a question, it was always told like, hey, this is a reference guide that you can follow along. Or if you need to call me, then call me.
So when we get into the settlement stuff, what's changed? That explanation is not a mystery, it's pretty simple. That how commissions are paid, and maybe work up a little section on why, different strategies using that. If you want to sell fast, what do you do? Besides pricing, attract attention of agents who are showing off lots and lots of homes. And we want to attract those agents as much as you want to attract the buyer. Is one strategy.
So on that, Aaron's listing in Salem, her clients came back in and sat down. They weren't getting the activity that they were hoping for. 1.2 overpriced. Yeah, I agree. So, but they came back in and sat down with her, and don't quote me on exactly how it went, but she talked to them about doing a price reduction, down to 1.1, something like that. She said that, 1.1, 1,050,000 might be the range. These people want somebody to come in and negotiate and make an offer. The seller said, well, why would I reduce it $100,000? Would it be helpful if we incentivized the buyer's agents and put a buyer's agent commission at 4% instead of 3%? It'll cost me a lot less money, and hopefully it incentivizes these people to come in and write us an offer, right? Get through the house, write us an offer.
So
It's a strategy.
once upon a time when there was a glut of listings, in those times. So people would do things like buy my house and I'll give you my car.
Yeah,
It was like just crazy, crazy stuff, because there was, 10 houses for every buyer out there, so they, when market switches, all kinds of, strategies have to be, and people get desperate, they really do.
yeah. Mr. Victor, what are you seeing on the buyer side of things?
Business is trickling in, nothing on fire. I don't think anybody's on fire out there. But buyers are just a little bit cautious. What I found, I was going through my pipeline, I found that 50% of my pipeline, I actually have to create opportunities, because people are not just in a position to do something, or they're just kind of stagnant. And for example, I had a gal call a couple weeks ago, past client, closed in 2018. She goes, hey Vic, me and my husband are thinking about moving here in a couple of years. I just thought I would just call you and kind of remind you what's going on. She goes, but I think we're gonna wait a couple of years. So right away I said, okay, play the cost of waiting card. They're in that 400,000 price range. I say, okay, 400,000 at a 5% appreciation is 20 grand appreciation. That means you gotta save 1666 a month after taxes. Are you doing that now? She says, no way in hell. And I go, so waiting is actually gonna cost you more than thinking about doing something right now. Then she went on to say, well, we got a whole boatload of debt. I go, how much debt? She goes, I don't know, but there's a bunch. I said, why don't you apply? Come to find out, they got $73,000 in credit card debt, right? They wanna move. I go back in my data and look, and Jen Peterson was the buyer agent. I said, tell you what, why don't I give Jen a call? Let's get a CMA. Jen goes out there and does a CMA. So anyway, what we're able to do, and because I'm at the credit union now, we got some pretty cool product. What we can do is we are going to sell her home, and with those proceeds, pay off the $73,000 in debt, go on a $450,000 house that we put an offer on yesterday. 0 down payment. With the conventional 0 down payment, they will pay off their debt, keep $23,000 in the bank for emergencies, and we're gonna lessen their cash outflow by $800 a month from their current situation.
Wow.
And I thought,
Wow.
but that was creating an opportunity. If I just said, yeah, okay, call me in 2 years, great. Hey, I got a prospect in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
But it was going a little bit above and beyond, and just creating that opportunity to open the eyes there.
I love that.
So, and then Jen Peterson, of course, was up north this week, right? But then, so she had one of her teammates show them this property. It's one of Tim Sova's listings, and it's been on the market for like 18 days. So they put an offer in. And on the pre-approval, I said, Tim, call me about this true 0 down conventional loan if you got any questions. Because the listing agent's gonna, what do you mean 0 down conventional? I never heard of that. So I said, call me. So we'll find out today. So that was created an opportunity. Then also I was looking at refinances. I've been going through past customers and got a couple of refinances, closed 2 last week, 1 this week. And because the rates of these 7-1 arms and 5-1 arms are very good. Because I can get them in at 5.875%, 6%, no closing costs. So I'm saving customers from $200 to $400, and to them, that's a lot of money. It costs them nothing, and they're going on a 7-year arm or a 5-year arm, because I also teach them about the market, how I teach you guys.
These are people that bought at 7.5, 8.
Yeah, these were guys I closed last year at 7 to 7.5%. Now I'm getting them at 6% or under. And one of the guys, because he bought with 5% down, the appraisal went up. He's got 10% equity. We got the PMI saver, so I put him on a PMI saver 5-1 arm. He doesn't have PMI. You got to have 10% equity. He's saving $280 a month, and with 10%, you don't have to have escrows. So he's controlling his own escrows, no PMI, at no cost. So that was a creation and having to do some homework.
Wow.
Oh, and then this other one here, one of Michelle Better's guys, they wanted to put an offer in. This gal, with her mom, but the gal only had a 570 credit score. I go, nobody's got to touch it. You can't do nothing.
Yeah.
But at the credit union here, we got to call the Family Helper program, because her mom was going to co-sign anyway. And so with the Family Helper,
Goes on the mom's credit score.
we go by the highest middle score of both borrowers, which was mom. So she would have got an FHA, but it would have been horrible. So we were able to go in with mom's credit score, but you gotta put 20% down, but they're at 6.5%. No discount points on the family helper. And we got one condition before we're clear to close. So that was created an opportunity. So I don't see anything falling in my lap like it used to.
Yeah, you're working for
I
it.
gotta earn it.
Yeah.
You know, and just discover.
On that, they have to be a family member?
Blood, yeah, they gotta be blood, FBI, yep. And, but it's working. Mom was a non-occupied co-borrower. She was gonna help her out anyway. With a gift of 20%, this kid gets into a house.
That's badass.
It's not bad.
That's really good.
It's an
They love
angle.
the shit out of you.
Huh?
I love it.
What?
All those people love the shit out of you right now.
No, actually, this one complained because they go, oh my God, we already gave that documentation.
Wow.
You know, we get that call, and so I called Beth and Flo, so what the hell are you bothering the customer? This came from the realtor, because the borrower was complaining to the realtor, oh my God, they're throwing me under the bus, they need this and that. And so I went through detail by detail, and no, we did not. You supplied this, but you were missing a page. This was blurred up, this was missing this. And so we had to call and explain. But, but that's typical, you know, and, because we make mistakes too, but, it's creating opportunities,
Mhm.
you know, and going that extra mile. You know, so, and I think agents must be going through that because these potential sellers or potential buyers have got to be seeing the same thoughts. Well, I want to move, but I want to wait. The rates are too high. It's this, I've got that. I don't think I can do it. I think they owe it to themselves to go to a true professional, you know, asking the seller, well, wouldn't it be fair for you to see a true professional to prove you're right that you gotta wait 2 years?
Yeah,
But to discover and see what the options are.
yeah,
So anyway,
it
that's,
is.
oh, hey, I just for some fun. I was looking at the national debt today. You know, we're at $37 trillion now. And
That's it.
do you know what the government's biggest asset is? 1.38 trillion in student loan debts. Think of yourself of a business and you've got accounts
yeah.
receivables. Remember, they loan that money to students.
Yes.
That's an account receivable and you can't even throw them into bankruptcy. They'll go after Social Security, so it's guaranteed. That is, it is 39% of our assets that our government has is student loan debt.
But he's gonna waive it off.
Well, and that's the bad thing. And now you want to waive it? You know, so I don't want to get political here. So,
Don't get me started.
but I was looking at the federal debt of $37 trillion. So I got out my calculator and doing the math. You know, we got 334 million people in the United States. So I go, okay, everybody knows the U of M Stadium, 100,000 people that thing fits, right?
110.
110, well, let's just go with 110,
111
okay?
on a good day.
Yeah, so I was thinking what you would have to do, you could line up 3,300 Michigan U of M stadiums right next to each other, and that would go from US 23 right down to the Florida border, right? And every one of those men, women, and children in that stadium, they have to wake up tomorrow and cut a check for $104,000 for us to be out of debt, and be clean. And that kid that's born right now in America, you're 104 grand in debt.
Isn't there something like 34 trillion of equity
In what?
in homes?
Oh, yeah, there's $269 trillion in assets in real estate across the country.
President, shit, that's crazy.
So yeah, I was just dumbfounded that
269 trillion?
269 trillion.
That's not even a real number.
Yeah.
2 zeros is.
But how I was trying to do the
Too many
math here is, I
Calculate.
think the government has $212 trillion in assets, okay? With what they owe and what they own on, I don't know, tanks and real estate, government buildings, parks and all that stuff, right? So when you take their assets and their $37 trillion in debt, to put it in perspective, it's like me giving you $1,000 credit limit and you owe $170 on it. Not too bad, okay? So when you think we're 37 trillion in debt, we're not that bad. We have a lot of assets.
Their net worth is more than, it's not negative.
Right, yeah, right. So we bring in 3.7 trillion in income from taxes, right? Income taxes and all that. But yet we spend 5.1 trillion as our budget, so we have a 1.6 trillion year deficit, that's why we just keep building this.
The problem is who owns that debt?
Well, we do, the people. We own it because
All right, let me rephrase it, who holds that debt?
we, people actually. Because for example, when you buy a 10-year treasury bill, you're buying government debt. So now you can go buy $10,000 treasury bond, which is guaranteed by the government. So now they can go loan it out as a student loan and create an asset out of it. I don't have all the answers. It's just a mess.
China. It's just about to do it. That's where
China?
Well, they're $14 trillion in debt. We're number one in the world.
Way more people than we do.
Yeah, they have what, 5 more times more people.
Yeah. Megan, what are you seeing out there?
Sorry, guys.
No,
Thank you for bringing that back. It's been picking up for me lately, which is great. I'm wondering, are people using the new Michigan Realtors
forms?
forms right now? Like, are you using that new listing agreement? Or are we just using the office one still? What are people doing transition?
People are welcome to. I don't know anybody.
Wait for Aaron.
It's a great question.
Right, yeah.
Like, everybody's just using the same form.
Well, you had an issue the other day.
I did, I know.
Yeah.
I had a bigger bank say that I told you about it, our verbiage on our purchase agreement was too ambiguous, and that they made me, for the commission, for the,
The notice of buyer.
right, instead, I use the new purchase agreement, so I don't use the notice of buyer agency form, I just use the one that's in there. And so then I had to get an addendum signed by everybody saying that the seller was actually paying my commission. So I'll just go back to using the LCAR one for right now, just in case, because that was just annoying, and in this case it was fine, but
LCAR what?
purchase agreement, yeah, or our old one, and then the notice of buyer agency one. But like, we have a listing coming up soon. We have a couple listings coming up soon, and like, should I just have that new form signed to start?
The new purchase agreement or the
Or
new listing agreement?
Listing agreement, should I just be using the new things now?
I think so.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're gonna have to amend it if it's on the market
okay,
after August 17th. It's gonna have to be changed with the new verbiage.
even if it's like under contract.
Yeah.
Glad you asked that question. I didn't even think about that. I think that was Saturday.
And then also wondering if like, I asked this in the Facebook group, and Joe said that he had done it, but like working with a receiver in a divorce. Have you done that, Bill?
Working with a
Receiver? The couple cannot get along. The court has appointed a receiver, so the receiver is in charge of signing the listing agreement, accepting an offer, handling all the things. The receiver is
the sign.
my client. And, he's just not that great, so I'm like, do I write it off still with like the seller's name? on there? Or do I?
Well, the sellers are the owners.
Yeah.
So they would be on.
I would ask the title company how it needs to look too.
Yeah, I guess I'll
It's
call
like a
that.
power of attorney
Ask Nicole, yeah.
or an estate.
Yeah, because as the lender, we're gonna ask, we need something to show that this receiver has permission to sign.
Yeah, I have the court order already, it
Yeah.
just doesn't say.
Nicole will know like
Yeah.
like how it needs to look. I'm sure she's seen that 1,000 times.
It'd be interesting because the husband does not want the house to be for sale. We're going there today to look inside the house, but he is like, the house is not for sale, take me off this message. So it's gonna be a new challenge with lots of new learning.
Who are you going with?
Sam. Yeah.
So by court order, they have to sell the house.
Yeah, so they don't have a choice.
You need someone else to go with you also.
Where's that?
Marion Township.
How did you get set up with that?
So I have a friend that's an attorney, and she had asked me if I'd be willing to take high conflict cases, and I was like, sure, why not?
Sounds
Great,
fun.
yeah, that's exact- that's-
High conflict, that's how they get high conflict.
Yeah, and,
I stepped into the nightmare, you gave me one, got it, cool, thank you.
and it turns out that Sam actually knows one of the, she knows the wife, so, it works out for us. Like, she had reached out to her, so it worked out.
That's a good niche.
I just
It's
have,
good.
the more we have to involve the receiver, the more money it costs them, and the less money that they'll walk away with, like, they have to sell the house, there's already. the
Oh, is he
court
like hourly or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so anytime, and then if you have to get the attorney involved,
Oh,
she
yeah.
charges more money, and so I just, am gonna try to just keep saying, this is what it says, and anytime you make it slower, it's more money out of your pocket, so just let me walk through.
Right.
So is this receiver an agent or just an attorney?
Gotta be an attorney.
Maybe an attorney, yeah. It's like his job, like he does what he does for a living is as a receiver in high conflict cases where people can't, he's like, I've had to sit there and wait for furniture to be moved out, and these people were paying me $300 an hour because we couldn't sign.
Definitely an attorney.
It's similar to conservatorships in the courts as well, so if you have a family member that can't take care of themselves and no one in the family steps up, the court appoints someone, and they get paid for that,
Well,
they get paid to oversee their finances.
My question is there a list of receivers or are you appointed, hey, lawyer, you're gonna be a receiver in this
The
case?
courts usually have a list of people that are pretty.
That's the list I'm talking, those are the ones you go after to talk to them and say, I want your high conflict
I wanna
cases.
be on that list.
Yeah.
$300 an hour.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Billy, how's your business?
This is good. Well, I'm shaking and, what does it say, shaking and?
Shaking the tree? Oh, shake and bake?
Writing an offer with Nick today, so I need an updated PAL from you.
How much?
325.
Oh,
I'll get the taxes from you
you going on Kellogg?
Yep,
The Blue House?
no,
Oh,
Oh,
I don't have anybody. I just.
yes.
I don't have anybody.
But you know, interest rates are the lowest they've been since January. We have the highest inventory, highest active inventory since 2022 right now. We have just, I think the market is heading in a direction that we all want it to head. Which is fantastic.
Notice there's like, I have some clients shopping in like the $350-ish price point, and like notice more of the one that's not like a Pinterest perfect moving match, like a lot of those other ones like have been sitting longer.
By longer, you mean 4 days plus?
Like over a week, 2 weeks, which I thought was interesting.
Does that have to do with the season? Because July, you know, auto workers are on shutdown, everybody's on vacation. Is that part of
July
the
always
always?
is a slow month, always, it just is, for that exact reason, people are just gone. And it'll pick up, and according to Buffini, it's gonna be a hell of a fall.
He thinks it's gonna push through. I didn't finish watching that.
Yeah, so the research that he has done, he calls it the Dahlia curve or something like that, he says 40% of the markets, 40% of this, listings happen between March, April, and May. This year, that was only 20%, and he sees that 40% happening in August, September, October.
Wow.
Ooh, can I ask you a question then? I have a listing where my people are moving for a job, and they live on a lake. And it's not in Livingston County, it's in Ypsilanti on Fort Lake. And they want to list, but they want to be in the house through like December 12th. They want to have Thanksgiving, there's a Taylor Swift concert in Canada they're going to, very important things. And so we were like talking about trying to list like after maybe like the week after Labor Day, and then asking for occupancy because they're on the lake, everything looks nice. Do you try to do it like towards the end of September, if you're thinking the fall is gonna get busier? So it's not as much occupancy?
Depends on the price point of the home, how fast is it gonna sell?
Oh, it's like the last time on a home sold on a lake was last year in August 30th, and it was like 4 days. Like there's not a lot of houses.
I would be ready to hit the green light as soon as Fed drops the rate.
oh my God. But one angle, take it now, close it, go for the occupancy. From a lender standpoint, you got 60 days to
Yeah.
occupy the house, and then just do an addendum that the lender don't see.
Yeah,
Give it another 30.
cause like, my first thought was just doing it like, putting on the market after Labor Day, like that first week. But then she said also like maybe doing it later on at the end of September.
I mean,
Or
can't
if you-
lose.
if you get it under contract and just say, hey, we don't want to close for 60 days, and then I need 60 days occupancy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, and this will benefit your buyer because the feds are supposed to lower the rates, so.
I'm not not really worried so much about occupancy, it's just the right timing to.
Right in there, contingent offers preferred.
Or play the card, sell the house contingent on the people finding it.
These people were from my Zillow, Whitmore Lake zip code, my should guess Whitmore Lake zip code, I was like $700 a month, and they found some house in Whitmore Lake that they wanted to see, but they ended up in Ypsilanti Township. They bought their house for 5 something, and they will live there 2 years in September, on September 1st.
So they probably have to wait.
Yeah, they wanted to wait till after September 1st, anyway.
Is that 2 years then?
Yeah.
These are the
If
2
we're
years.
capital
Yeah.
gains.
What are we seeing on, like, I saw that post from Katie Leader on the verbiage on the purchase agreement
Oh, yeah.
saying, you know, agent friendly
Oh, yeah, and we're listing.
on our listing. Yeah.
Yeah, can't do that.
Can't do that. What else can't we do?
Pretty much.
I'm gonna write in 3% on every single purchase agreement I write.
Oh, on every
Make that
purchase
go.
agreement.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have been doing too, now that it's gone, every time I submit one, I just,
Yeah, I honestly believe that the struggle is going to be harder on the buyer side.
I don't think the listing side actually doesn't, it's communicating it that's going to be the difficult part.
It's just educating them.
Well, like 35 showings on a house, and you're gonna have to answer 35 times, so it's gonna be a pain in the ass, right? So the listing side doesn't concern me, it's really just the buy side, because I agree, like I've been writing in 3%, which probably shouldn't be doing, because if I write an offer for my buyer and then send it, and if they're offering 0, and now they have an offer in hand, but they cross that off, then you gotta go back to your buyer and have that conversation at that point in time about how they're gonna have to pay you.
It's just hoping you're not competing.
I mean,
But you gotta have that conversation. Like, it's gonna be so much harder to have that conversation after.
right, we talked about it the other day, I've already talked to the one that I've been writing for, but that's my fear, I guess, is to get in a spot where, yeah, we'll accept your offer, but it's not 3%, it's 1.5, just so you know. What do you do then? You go back to it, you pivot to the buyer, hey, they accepted our terms, but you have to bring money.
They're asking you to pay
They're-
1.5% of the
Yes,
commission.
which
That's the
I love
verbiage.
that verbiage.
Well,
Thank
could you-
Chris.
Could you have verbiage in that contract that you're asking for 3% if you try to negotiate down, that goes to the buyer side? Can you have that in the contract, so you are automatically guaranteed your 3?
Explain.
If you're not competing, anything's open.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask for 10 if we really want to, right? You know, in that instance, but
If you are competing, it's no different than asking for concessions. You're gonna explain to your buyer, hey, listen, on this one, we're competing, we're gonna need to go approximately 3% over. And then ask for that in, concessions towards commission.
and that just depends on the strength of the buyer.
Right.
You know, and that's where, like, if you don't have a strong buyer, you could screw it yourself.
In the event they cross this part off, this will go on the buyer's side of the closing costs.
Yeah.
Again,
I know, 'cause I actually talked to Audrey about having a separate form to put in with our purchase agreements. It shouldn't be a separate form because they can always not sign that form, but sign the contract.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be baked into the purchase agreement.
yeah,
But Joe Barnwell was saying the other day that
Commission, yeah.
he was saying that, what was he saying about the 3%, that can't be on the purchase agreement?
yeah, he said that from an Elcar, like, and when they were talking with legal, and I know Aaron had said that they had ran it by whomever here, but he was saying that the commission should not be in our purchase agreement at all. But that's why the notice of buyer's agency is separate. Because it's not between, as before, like right now, it's not between, it has nothing to do with the buyer.
between the seller and the listing broker. And then the listing broker is sharing it
Well, now it's
currently, but now it's,
So you can't have the number of the percent of commission on the purchase agreement, but you can have on there that you're gonna jack up the price, you're gonna get concessions, and part of that will be used towards buyer agent commission.
That part's weird though, because if you're already jacking up the price, I mean, right now, if we're jacking up the price, we wanna see a gap coverage.
Right.
So for now, if we're jacking up the price for commission concession, why wouldn't they just say, if it doesn't appraise, then I'll just pay the commission versus appraisal coverage? Yeah.
Now we got a commission gap and an appraisal gap.
Yeah.
so I'm in a group called Ask the Appraiser, and they're saying it's gonna be a huge problem because when we report our sales in the MLS, we can't say how much of concessions was for commissions.
Oh, for real?
So everything's, they're just gonna, deduct the
Now this one's like a
concessions.
$3,000 bath on concessions or whatever. the number
Right,
is.
so we're gonna be having, a $500,000 sale is now gonna be $485 on the appraisal because there were.
But there's instances where it's not gonna be recorded as a concession because the seller offered a
Correct.
agency commission.
Correct, and
So
so
in those, like, so.
we're not gonna have apples to apples anymore.
But when the purchase, when I get them in, there's always where the commission is getting paid to bill at X%. Buyer
Well,
agency.
so does the buyer agency,
It's not
yeah,
on there anymore.
That's not on the purchase agreement now?
It is now.
it
but-
is
It is
current.
currently, but
Oh, but
it's
it will be
But
going
they're
away.
saying it shouldn't be because it violates, it's between the buyer and the seller, the purchase agreement. And not between the buyer and their agent, not between the seller and the buyer agent, it's a mess.
the one thing that I wanna do with my listings, and I was talking briefly with Megan about this earlier, figure out how to do one of those little text this number that you put on your sign essentially for more information. I wanna figure out how to do that, to where people can somehow, like, I don't know if we can put that in the listing, like text 88739 for more listing information.
Why don't they just call it?
Why don't you call me if I have time to show the house? I want them to be able to pull it up and say, cool, this one's paying 3%.
I was thinking, you guys ought to have sticky notes, red, yellow, and green. Green means, put on the listing, a little green thing means you're getting 3%, yellow's 2%, and red is 1%.
Oh
I
my
mean, if we end
God.
up creating landing pages for each of our listings though, can't we put in the agent remarks, our website and click here for more information?
Yeah,
And that way, our landing pages show what we're offering,
right, but
and that should cut majority of the goofy phone calls out of the way.
the tough part is how many times you have a client send you something off the Zillow, you look at it, you say, cool, and then now you have to go from there. You have to go to the MLS, you gotta look at the realtor remarks, and then you gotta go schedule it or clarify anything. It's just,
Can't be.
And, I
can't
mean,
be the
that
documents,
sounds like
can't
an
be
infomercial where the guy can't dump his windshield washer fluid in the thing. Or he fumbles around, it's like, or you could be like, the guy sends you the listing and bill, then you gotta call the agent, then you can schedule the showing.
well, and I understand, it's just that you live list heavy. Bill, I'm pretty sure you're someone who doesn't live next to your phone. So what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna put in their text.
Where, okay. You know what I mean? I think it's so stupid.
Yes.
It's just-
You're gonna create an autoresponder in your text, so you can just
Maybe, you know what?
press
For
J.
every listing.
Maybe you get a Google number that has an automation.
Well, that's what Chad was talking about when we had that Zoom call a couple weeks ago. He was just thinking about creating a Google number for each and every listing, and that's what's on it. It's a number dedicated to that listing and that listing.
I mean, you could really do it where, really, what are you gonna be offering
No,
on the
we-
buy side? There's probably only 2 or 3 different options that you're gonna work with, right? So you really just need 3 numbers, they hit it, it just hits that, here's what's being offered on.
I don't know, it smells like it's, I don't know how long that would last before the state catches up and says, okay, what's going on here?
So what do you guys think about, like, as a listing agent, saying, all right, seller, I charge 3%. What would you like to charge, or what would you like to offer for buyer's agent? my suggestion would be to be open to paying a buyer's commission. And I will tell anybody that writes an offer to write it in your offer.
But I thought you can't put it in an offer.
But don't we
You
have to
can
have it
also- you
spelled
can put a
out?
concession that pays a cushion.
Like,
Like,
I'm not saying we're paying
So
3, 5,
we have
1,
to have
or
it spelled
0.
out in the listing agreement.
I want it
We're
to
gonna
be,
take the best offer. So
Well, I don't know if it does.
I want it
I
to
don't
be.
know, that's why I'm asking, I
So
thought
is the
commission
listing
had to
agreement
be
going to offer
in
buyers
the listing
agency
agreement
to
to
choose
sign
what
what
it
it
is?
is.
What's that?
Like,
So
so in
what
the
we're
listing
offering the
agreement,
buyer
the
is
seller
that's
can
gonna be
choose
upfront.
to offer buyer's agency commission, not concessions, commission.
Yes,
And if that's the
yes.
case, then
Yeah, I'm
that,
looking at the
then
one
what you're
that
suggesting, I
Lena
think
sent out.
works
So-
too, but if it has to be in there, then we're.
I'm gonna try to get them to offer the commission every time. I don't wanna deal with concessions. I
So
want,
that conversation is, all right, Scott, so I charge 3% to list a house. Great. Now, let's talk about buyer's agent compensation. I think there's two options that you have here. Option one is you're open to offering compensation, but we just don't know what that is yet until we get an offer. We can say, we're offering one, depending on the offer. Or option two, we say what you're gonna offer right now, whether that be 2, 2.5, or 3. That way we know what it's gonna be versus waiting to see what it might be.
what do you think's in my best interest?
I think, quite frankly, offering a compensation up front, so we already know what that number is gonna be versus waiting to see what it might be.
Great, then I'll do that because I trust you, that's why you're doing it.
Or on the other hand, yeah, in order for you, Mr. Seller, to optimize and get the most marketability out there, you hired me to be your professional. I advise you offer 3% of the buyer's agent to get the most traction you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I understand there's going to be variations of it where people are gonna talk with their friend or, you know, so-and-so said this, but I'm
Still building.
I'm gonna have a really, really hard time when there's not like, you know, we're offering 3% concessions, you know, write your offer and then we'll, you know, go from there.
And
Like,
then you have an inspection and now there's repairs needed.
or they can just cross my concessions that are paying my commission off entirely, and then they send it back, like, am I? Now I have to present it to my buyer, and then I gotta say, remember when you signed this 3%? Now this comes into play, because you're gonna owe me $12,000 additional to that offer. You know, like,
Might affect their actual offer.
it 100% affects their offer.
Yeah,
Because
now
you're
that
writing
time
the
goes
offer
wrong.
under the assumption, so then you gotta cross out, no, we're not gonna pay 400 for this, we're gonna pay
I wonder if we'll get to a
388.
point where like, we get there and the concessions were offered and the appraisal came in 3% low and.
And that's, I don't want them to be able to negotiate that. I want it to be built in upfront because then it's not a non-negotiable, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, yes, there's gonna be instances where it's like, you wanna know what? I'll give you $1,000 because I wanna get to the closing table.
Mhm.
You know, like, and I've done that before, but I don't wanna get to the point where it's like, oh, we came in light, like, looks like your commission's gone.
Oh, I got a question.
It's like,
Typical
But it's come in light before, and the first thing wasn't commission, it was either
But
drop
if
your
there-
price, bring the cash, or roll out.
But
Because
if there's-
commission was always considered a.
it wasn't a
reasonable
concession,
cost of
but
business.
when it's in as a concession, like,
Right.
that's my concern, is because it is in as a concession, that people will try to
Plus
negotiate
you're gonna have
that.
limits on concessions too.
Are there
depending on the
limits on
loan.
concessions?
Well, that's where I was going with this, because 5% down on a $400,000 purchase, we know the max concession is 3%, that's 12,000, that pays your commission. But I think we could ask for 6%, as long as it's stated that you're getting 3% is going towards you and 3% is going to the buyer, because you can't have more than 3% for buyer
We could
concessions.
have why can't we just call it paid commission, not concession?
So that, I have a really dumb question,
No,
but I'm
that's why
having,
the verbiage is confusing.
yeah, because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around, we talk about being able to offer compensation, but also we can offer concessions. Would there be an advantage as a lister, or the listing agent or seller to do concessions over compensation?
Yeah, like if I'm offering, if I'm saying, come show my house, we'll pay 3%, is that concessions to the buyer? Or is it
has
just,
to be spelled out,
or is it just
3% towards
commission?
what? Because generally, if it's concessions, it's towards buyer's closing costs, prepaid items, discount points, and or buy
Why
outs.
can't I just say, seller pay me 3%? That has nothing to do with the buyer and their financing.
Oh, you mean if the contract comes in, and says seller's giving buyer 3%,
Seller's giving buyer's agent 3%.
oh, buyer's agent 3%, I don't see a problem with
Maybe
that
that's
at
how
all.
it is right now.
Because it's not going to the buyer.
Mhm.
But if we're gonna ask for 6%, because our buyer needs concessions and he has to pay you somehow.
Mhm.
We gotta ask for 6%, 3% to go to buyer's agent, the other 3% towards buyer's closing cost down, or closing cost prepaid items and discount points. All other
So we could
conditions.
write an offer technically that buyer or seller is to pay
6%.
buyer's
concessions.
agent 3% commission in
And
addition
3%.
and 3% in concession, so we split them apart.
But that's a way to do it too. Buyer to give 6% concession, 3% concessions to buyer's agent, 3% towards buyer's closing cost prepaid items. That way it's separated right in the agreement.
Buyers doing that or sellers?
No, I mean sellers, yeah,
okay.
yeah, the sellers pay each, you know, that's just like, and I understand they're putting the concession tab in there so we can put a number in there, so you know the compensation is being offered. But I hate that it's in the word concession, because concession is, there's no legitimacy.
Yeah.
Right, it means absolutely nothing, like, it's like gray, so you don't think you're gonna have dirt bags out there that are gonna put 3, and then as soon as you write the offer, sorry, they cross that off.
Couldn't, you know, because you guys all have your $495 or $395 compliance fee. Couldn't we say the seller is pay buyer's compliance fee of $12,000?
Yeah. But yeah.
And now it's not commission, it's compliance fee.
Yeah, no split, baby.
I just screwed you. That's it.
Dominickers on our bus.
I said it, and instead of splitting it up into concessions, say seller is willing to pay the compliance fee of $12,000, you know, it's the buyer's compliance fee.
Oh, their cap?
Yeah, or whatever.
No.
No, compliance fee.
Compliance.
Well, we don't supposed to do.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm like, whew.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't charge commission, I just charge compliance fee.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be an angle.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about like people in this room, a lot of people in this area, it's just, you know, the race to the bottom. That I'm concerned.
That's what your problem is gonna be, is the people that are willing to race to the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be your own integrity, like your estate. Mr. Seller, in order for me to give you the best market and the best visibility, I would offer the buyer agent 3% and I charge 3%. I'm not the Salvation Army. There is no steeple on this roof. Let's get this.
Well,
thing
there's
sold.
gonna be Buffini calls it the cafeteria style pricing, where if you want me to write the offer, it's $800. If you want me to see it through closing, it's another $1,500. If you want me to just show you houses, it's $50 a house.
Apparently, the CEO CEO of EXP just put up a post the other day, but pulled it down right away.
That thing on Inman,
Did it come up on Inman? I don't even,
they had some yesterday, I can't click it.
I can't either.
Right.
There was EXP encouraging that all of their agents charge for their listing side, and all buyers pay buyer's agent commission. They don't even try for it. But they're not
Really?
going to. Like that's their angle. That's their shtick.
This is the 3DX angle,
That's EXP,
EXP's angle.
which is 80,000 people deep.
Let's say we got.
But I think there's gonna be a lot of agents at EXP though that say, screw that, if that's the company policy, I'm jumping ship.
I would think any of the buyers going there would say,
Last.
Well, if you get competing offers and you have an offer from a person that works at a company that does that, someone else who works at a company that doesn't do that, I can tell you how I'm going to advise my sellers
yeah.
every single time. You know, there's a lot of shady people in this business, don't know the value behind what they do. Unfortunately, this one is represented by that company, this one's not. I think that this one has a better chance of getting to the finish line because of the value.
Let's
that they
counter
believe
this
in.
one to see if they'll match this one.
you know, so with that angle that you were stating, we got 80,000 deep, that their buyer consults right away are gonna say, and you're coming up with 3% concessions unless I could negotiate it into the deal.
That's a good point. I mean, those agents are also buyer's agents. is.
And that's the hardest part, and that's where, like, I guess we're gonna have to see this play out, because I wanna offer a commission. But if people start playing dirty like that, then I'm gonna offer a concession, and you wanna know who's not gonna get the concession ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
The people who
You
are
know,
gonna come.
it's like the tortoise and the hare. There's gonna be a lot of hares out there doing that bullshit. And 2 years from now, it's gonna be the tortoise that wins.
Yeah, it's really an integrity thing. You buyer agents earn your money, listing agents earn their money.
Yeah.
And everybody's putting their best foot forward to make a win for everybody. We all gotta eat. Man,
So all we do is open doors. We don't
Yeah.
do anything.
Right, they don't,
Well,
buyer's agents don't
that's
do
what
anything.
you want your buyer to think, and your seller to think at the closing table, because, and that's what I tell buyers, well, why do I need a realtor? I never even have to talk to them. I go, thank God you did it. That means you don't have no idea what happens behind the scenes with the addendum, the inspection, the shit shows, and all the emotional stuff you guys gotta go through. You wanna be able to go to that closing and say that realtor did nothing, because they did everything in the world that you didn't see. If you've seen it, and you had to deal with it, now your realtor's not earning it.
No, I want them to say, she did so much for me, and I am so grateful.
We just did a bad job of telling them what we did.
Oh, I tell them,
Do ya?
they know.
My dad always tell me, he goes, you go to a closing table, you wanna be able to tell your customer to go to hell, and they turn around and ask you for directions. That means you did your job. You know?
I like that.
You ain't better. But boy, yeah, you guys.
23 south and 36 west.
You guys did your job. You know, and the thing is, that sometimes you got easy ones where it just comes and goes. But look, you had to go to Southeast Michigan, how many 50 homes you had to show? It all evens out, you get,
In about a week and a half, yeah.
and it's the ones where you show 50 homes and then they end up using another agent and you lose loyalty. You know?
Macomb to Westland. up
And then
to
they bought the
Davison.
construction.
No,
They're the contracts.
Yeah, and then use the in-house lender.
Yeah.
Quality guy.
I had a conversation. They're actually using a credit union. And it sounded very similar to that. But Farmers Hills, my hometown.
So Leo Pereira is the CEO of EXP. He ended up doing a call on BAM after that came out. He did it yesterday, apparently. I'm sharing it to the Facebook page right now. It's 45 minutes long. He's going to explain what they're doing with their commission.
The XP guy.
Mhm.
So they're gonna try to promote,
Not offering commission, offering concessions is my guess.
or they're gonna be telling their buyers, look,
Actually, before I share that to the page, I want to listen to it, but I'll share it with you guys if you'd like.
Good idea.
so they're gonna teach your buyer's agent, you're not getting paid nothing unless it's negotiated. And how do you list them? You're gonna list your homes, you will offer no commission to the buyer agent.
That was the post that went up. If anything changed, it's going to be in this video.
That's gonna be interesting.
You should use other AI recording thing to play in the background, and then summarize it. for you.
Yeah.
Send it to me, I'll do it.
All right.
I know how, just send it.
I'm like, I don't know how to do that, Scott.
You just want the cliff notes, right?
That's essentially what it does. It gives you the cliff notes, and I can get it where we can put it up, and then we can attach the cliff notes.
Do you do it on your computer?
I don't actually, I should put it up on a computer, because I can probably just hit play in there and let it run. Because Lord knows you're.
Unless you start talking.
You want to know what I did when I did it last time? I took it and I put it in a drawer and walked away. And I set a timer somewhere else, because like, I'm this person, right?
Where's my phone? Where's my
Where's my phone? So, like, all right, you don't need it. It doesn't have to be
All right.
attached to you.
Well, thanks to Scott, we'll get the cliff notes on that.
This was one of the most productive sessions that we've had.
Awesome. Well, it's because we got people here to join in and give more perspective.
One of the best minds, I think, in this office.
It's the best hour of the week. Like, it is the best hour of the week, because it's organic where it comes from, or it's a current topic that needs to be talked about. Like, I don't understand how people don't show up.
So we need to